Tonight on Coyote News, a campus group is providing safe rides to students to help decrease drinking while driving and also raise funds for charity.
USD hosted the 30th annual Quad State Marching Band competition, and Lost and Found is raising suicide awareness on campus.
Plus, a new intramural sport has been a hit on campus with a lot of bang and a lot of color, and the Coyote football team is playing at home this weekend. Sort of. These stories and more coming up, but first, news headlines with Courtney Starrett.
Earlier today, Lance Armstrong stepped down as chairman of the Livestrong Cancer Charity. Nike also severed ties with him as fallout from his recent doping scandal. Nike says the end of the relationship is a result of Armstrong participating in doping and misleading Nike for more than a decade. Nike will continue to support Livestrong. Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate for president, was arrested while protesting rules, barring her from participating in last night's presidential debates. The New York-Nassau County Police Department says Stein and her running mate, Cheryl Hunkala, were charged with disorderly conduct. They were both released from jail early this morning and will appear in court November 8th, after the election. A New York man has been arrested for allegedly plotting to attack the Federal Reserve Building in Manhattan. The Long Island man was arrested after a sting operation from the FBI and New York police. The building is a few blocks from the World Trade Center. The man was due in court today. And President Abbott announced today that Chick-fil-A is officially coming to the campus with the Muck expansion. And those are your headlines.
For many men and women serving in the U.S. military, coming home from a war zone and heading to college doesn't mean life goes back to normal.
Around 400 veterans attend classes here at the University of South Dakota, and the USD Veterans Club is one organization that offers assistance to these vets. Brendan Whalen is president of the USD Veterans Club, but prior to that, spent 5 years as an Army medic where he treated multiple soldiers, including those with post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. Effects of PTSD range from sleeplessness to thoughts of suicide, and as a medic, Whalen knew how to treat the disorder, but it still didn't stop PTSD from becoming too real.
When I was in Korea, we had a 7-year-old baby die at our clinic because it was sick, and we also responded to a DOA, dead on arrival, on base, a soldier who had a heart attack. Seeing a dead body when coming into a room, it's not easy to deal with no matter who you are.
Whalen initially turned to alcohol and smoking to cope, but then made a choice many soldiers don't, to get help. When Whalen returned to the States in search of recovering, he was able to come to terms with his experience in 6 months. He says admitting he had a problem was the biggest step towards recovery, and encourages any USD vet struggling with PTSD to seek help, talk to friends, and build support groups, just like those at the USD Veterans Club. For Coyote News, I'm Andrew Bork.
Thanks, Andrew. After his contract's up next summer, Whalen plans to finish his nursing degree and eventually become a family nurse practitioner.
Over the past few years, USD students have grown accustomed to seeing new buildings, parking lots, and grassy quads. But beginning next semester, they'll notice something significant is missing. When students return to campus in January, they'll be returning to a 100% smoke-free campus. USC will officially become the 7th campus in South Dakota to make the change, joining the ranks of Dakota State, Dakota Wesleyan, Mount Marty, Oglala Lakota, and the School of Mines and the University of Sioux Falls. According to the Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights Foundation, there are at least 814 smoke-free campuses across the U.S. Foundation officials say the increase stems from research on the dangers of secondhand smoke. USD officials have not announced how they plan to enforce the new ban.
Coming up, it's not just a fun game, it's also a new USD sport. A USD alum has made his way to Los Angeles and is coming back to entertain students. David Venhuizen is a former commentary host on Coyote News. He also produced the first sitcom to air on KYOT TV. Now he's a comedian on the West Coast and is making a stop in Vermilion next Wednesday night. Venhuizen is one of a group of comedians who are doing a Midwest stand-up tour.
There's a new intramural sport, but you might recognize the game. Coyote News' Dan Bell says paintball is making a smash on campus.
About a mile and a half east of Vermilion on Main Street is Ufford Hills, the place that held the very first University of South Dakota intramural paintball tournament. Although 8 teams were registered, only 3 actually showed up. With the teams that showed up, each team was allowed an adequate time to be able to prepare themselves by getting more familiar with the markers and the field. With not all teams showing up, the tournament bracket had to be modified to accommodate for the changes. Paintball director Taylor Hamlin worked with the staff of the Wellness Center to make it happen.
8 teams were registered and only 3 showed up, so because of that, me and the Wellness Center staff actually had to create a new bracket. So what we did was the 3 teams played each other twice, and from those points that they had from winning, we created a new bracket, which basically the first place team got a bye, and the second and third place team had to play against each other to play the first place team. So after that, they went on the finals, they won, or DBA, yes, won. That was a great time.
Owner of the field, Alex Ufford, hopes that tournaments like this will help promote the fields more. For Coyote News, I'm Dan Bell.
Thanks, Dan. Ufford Hills will be open throughout the winter months to accommodate more tournaments.
With Election Day fast approaching, several student organizations have made it a priority to make sure USD students are able to vote. The College Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, and the Student Government Association are all working to get students registered for the 2012 election. Each group's been setting up voter registration tables in the Muck for the past several weeks.
This year, since it's an election year, the Student Government Association actually wanted to correlate with the College Democrats, the College Republicans, the College Libertarians, College Socialists if they wished, and do different get out the vote events. And I think we've been fairly successful.
Summarizing all of the ballot initiatives.
We really care that students be engaged. If they come and register, they can register independent, register Democrat. Obviously, no political organization is allowed to impose their views on the register, so we just really care about an informed electorate, and that's really been our biggest priority right here on campus this year.
Those eligible to register have until Monday to do so. Registration tables will be located in the Muck for the rest of the week. On this week's Coyote blog, Chris Jessen says students need to just try a little bit harder to stay on campus during the weekends.
It's no secret that the University of South Dakota is a suitcase campus most of the time. As soon as the imaginary starting pistol that is Friday afternoon sounds, students bolt out of Vermilion, heading home for yet another weekend. While it's not a bad thing to go home and see your friends and family, do so in moderation. When you go home all the time, you may miss out on parts of the college experience. Part of going to college is learning to live on your own for the very first time. You're supposed to learn how to do your own laundry, how to cook, clean, take care of yourself without your parents there to guide you. But it's hard to learn all those things if you go home every weekend and pack up your laundry basket. If your mom was meant to do your laundry and cooking forever, the school would have her sign up to be your roommate. Staying on campus also allows you to bond with the school and your classmates. There are plenty of things to do here, from movies at the Muck to athletic events. If you try to take the time to find out what's going on campus, you might find you really like it here. Going to college is a huge step on the way to becoming a full-fledged adult and leaving the nest behind. But when you keep one foot planted firmly at home, you're never going to go that far. For Coyote Blog, I'm Chris Jessen.
As of April 1st of this year, there have been over 3,000 inmates placed on death row. Today I'm talking with Betty Smith from the Political Science Department about the death penalty and how Monday's execution was the first in 5 years. That and more coming up next.
A conference focused on women's studies is being hosted by USD tomorrow and Friday. The Women in Gender Research Conference focuses on issues women face in their careers and personal lives. Lectures include college students' perception of women in rape, how the popular 50 Shades of Grey trilogy might reinforce male domination, and gender dynamics in the Army. A link for the conference schedule can be found on the MyU portal.
Most people have a favorite style of music, but does it usually include marching band music? The 30th annual Quad State competition featured music by 18 high school marching bands from across the region. Lemon, Yankton, and Vermilion were among the participating bands. USD band member Brandy Holland says Quad State is great every year.
Quad State is a lot of fun. We love supporting our high school bands, and I think it's a great experience for the high school bands to come here and see our dome. We can recruit to them.
Nebraska, South Dakota, Iowa, and Minnesota sent bands to the event. One Music fan stayed to watch every single band.
Being in the arena and with all the sound and everything, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. All these bands coming here, and this is really an awesome venue.
USD usually hosts about 20 bands, but only 18 competed this year.
This year, a new honor society has found a home on campus. On Monday night, over 100 students were inducted into the Gamma Beta Phi National Honor Society. Faculty advisor David Swanson gave the commencement address. Families of the students joining Gamma Beta Phi were invited to the ceremony. The Assistant National Executive Director, Jimmy McNutt, spoke to the audience about the importance of this honor society. Students were individually recognized and received a packet containing information about the society, certificates, and member pins. Dr. David Swanson is the campus faculty advisor for Gamma Beta Phi.
With many issues raised in today's political atmosphere, one seems left out of most conversation. Angelica Brackens is live in the Muck to talk with death penalty expert and political science professor, Dr. Elizabeth Smith.
Thanks, Teresa, and thanks to Betty for joining us. Is it normal for a state to go so long without an execution and then all of a sudden have a few in a row?
Yeah, it really depends on the state. And so the state of Texas, for example, holds executions on a regular basis and has executed over 400 death row inmates in recent years. South Dakota, on the other hand, has had very few executions. So we had an execution on Monday this week, and prior to that, it was 5 years earlier that Elijah Page was executed, and prior to that, it was 60 years. So South Dakota, like most northern states, holds very few executions.
All right, and Eric Robert was executed just this past Monday night, and it's the first since Elijah Page 5 years ago, and the next one is scheduled to happen in a couple of weeks. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. Ronald Mueller is a death row inmate. He's been on death row for almost a couple of decades, I think. And he recently withdrew all appeals and requested expeditious execution.
All right, and in Sioux Falls, there was a vigil that was held on Monday night in accordance to the execution. Can you tell us a little more about the controversy surrounding the death penalty?
Sure. I think people have very strong feelings for and against the death penalty, and there were really two demonstrations, if you will, in Sioux Falls this week. One was entitled Not in Our Name, and it was a group of people who oppose all executions. And another group was there in support of the widow of the corrections officer who was murdered by Mr. Robert.
All right, and is lethal injection the main means of execution?
Yes, nationally. It's not the only means of execution, but it's the default execution method in most states, and it is the only execution method permitted in South Dakota.
All right, thanks to Betty for joining us. Live from the Muck, I'm Angelica Brackens.
Thanks, Angelica. A new exercise trend is sweeping the nation and has made a name here at USD. Yote reporter Mandy Ewald joined the class to see what all the hype was about, hot yoga.
At the USD Wellness Center, group fitness classes are just another way to stay in shape. On this week's Yote Report, we'll see how a new yoga class is steaming things up on campus. Although this is the first semester hot yoga has been offered, it has proven to be very popular among both students and Wellness Center members.
It's set in a room that's heated to the traditional temperature is 105 degrees, but here at the Wellness Center it gets between 90 and 100 degrees.
To achieve the appropriate hot yoga temperature, the University of South Dakota Wellness Center uses dehumidifiers, space heaters, and adjusts the thermostat to 95 degrees.
The heat allows a person to increase their flexibility because the muscles get warmed up much more quickly, and it also improves the respiratory system, especially at this time of year when people are suffering from colds, late allergies, all that jazz.
For the Yote Report, I'm Mandy Ewald.
For students interested in attending, hot yoga is offered Sunday and Monday night and Wednesday morning.
This weekend, the football team is heading to Sioux Falls to take on the NDSU Bison. But will students follow? That's coming up next. Today on Coyote Sports, the men's and women's cross-country team win the Tim Young Invitational meet, and commentator Tara Moore wonders whether athletes should be role models. But first, sports headlines. Courtney?
Thanks, Abby. Injuries are plaguing both Major League Baseball and the NFL, with two top players receiving season-ending injuries. New York Yankee shortstop Derek Jeter is out with a broken ankle, and Yankees have now lost their first 3 games in their playoff series. Baltimore Ravens linebacker Ray Lewis is on conditional reserve with a torn tricep. Lewis has been invited to 13 Pro Bowls, and it's a possibility Sunday's game could be his last. The cycling world is in a day of mourning today, and it's not because of Lance Armstrong. Olympian Kyle Bennett died in a single-car wreck early Sunday morning near Houston, Texas. Bennett was 33 years old and a 3-time BMX world champion. He didn't reach the medal stand in the Beijing Olympics, but was part of the first U.S. BMX Olympic team in 2008. And those are your sports headlines.
Thanks, Courtney. The cross-country team has had a successful season, even taking a victory over UNL. Cassie Bartlett is live at the Muck to talk with women's cross-country and track runner Megan Hilson about what the team does off the track.
Thanks, Abby. I'm here today talking with Megan about the cross-country team's charity that they do. Megan, what is the Girls on the Run program?
Girls on the Run program is a program for girls ages 3rd grade through 5th grade, and we work with them twice a week after school, and we basically just teach them a lesson, usually things on like self-esteem building, eating healthy, not giving in to peer pressure, those kinds of things, and then we do our running workout with them, and the whole class lasts about an hour and a half.
Why do you volunteer with the program?
I volunteer with Girls on the Run just as a way to give back to the community. I mean, it's great to share the passion for running with the young girls, and I mean, someone gave me a chance when I was little, so I feel like I kind of need to do the same for them.
What is the biggest message you think the program gives to those young girls who might be struggling?
The biggest program is just to kind of worry about yourself sometimes. You know, like running is difficult, it can get frustrating, and we work with them a lot on self-esteem building and self-confidence, and I think it makes a big difference in their lives.
Are a lot of the girls from the Sioux Falls region, and are they from, low-income housing and, in need of some good women role models?
We only have girls from Vermilion. Sioux Falls has their own Girls on the Run program, but, I think we have girls from all over the spectrum, and there's some that really excel at running and some that need a little more help, and so it's great.
Okay. Well, thanks, Megan, for being with us today. For Coyote News Live, I'm Cassie Bartlett.
Thanks, Cassie. The USD Coyotes, now 1-5, are hoping to upset 5-1 NDSU Bison this Saturday at Howard Wood Field. The venue will bring back memories for at least 5 Coyotes who graduated from a Sioux Falls high school. Senior wide receiver Will Powell, a Sioux Falls O'Gorman graduate, and senior fullback Quentin McMartin, a Washington High School graduate, remember playing one another at Howard Wood Field. They say they're ready for Saturday's game. Head coach Joe Glenn says this is a big game for the Coyotes, going up against the defending Missouri Valley national champs. McMartin says he hopes to make beating the defending champs a tradition after defeating Eastern Washington State during Dakota Days last year. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. in Sioux Falls. Tailgating starts at 3 p.m. west of Howard Wood Field. The Coyote men's and women's cross-country teams won the Tim Young Invitational. The men placed 7 in top 8, and the women placed 6 in top 10 to sweep the team standings at Saturday's Invitational. The men won the meet with 16 points, and the women won with 26 points. Next, USD will head to the Summit League Championships on October 27th.
On this week's More Sports, commentator Taylor Moore wonders whether or not athletes should be considered role models.
Sports figures. Society often welcomes their influence in our daily lives. From the clothes we wear to the music we listen to, athletes play a critical role in day-to-day activities. But where does the line of influence stop? And more importantly, are athletes really worthy of being held as actual role models? Michael Jordan, known as probably the best basketball player in American history, has been widely accepted as a role model. His hard work and determination on and off the court have granted him this honor. But what about his issues with gambling? And Tiger Woods, who has had an amazing career crossing racial barriers in athletics and golf, but he has failed in staying faithful to his former wife, Ela Nordegren. The question I pose to you is this: why do we hold sports figures in such high esteem? They amaze us with great feats of athleticism that more than likely could not be done by regular people. But we forget that they are in fact invincible. They are just people. Just because a person has a 40-inch vertical or can run a 4.3 40-yard dash does not mean that we should expect them to be as godly as their athletic ability. We must remember that we are all in fact human, and that because of that, we, athlete or not, more than likely we are going to make mistakes along the way. For more sports, I'm Taylor Moore.
Thanks, Taylor. That's all for Coyote Sports. Coming up, Chrissy Sorensen takes a stab at creating an anonymous USD Twitter account. Stay tuned.
The fake President Abbott is just one example of how popular Twitter parody accounts occur.
On this week's commentary, Coyote News' Chrissy Sorensen creates what she says is the ultimate Twitter parody.
I wonder if that's what all those parody Twitter accounts are about. I'm gonna check this out. Coyote statue? Frickin' hate this guy. Fake Jababbit. He's not so bad. I think I could do this.
I'm Chrissy Sorensen, and I'm at u.chair.
Chrissy would like to tell students that parody accounts aren't that cool. USD fans are traveling to Sioux Falls this weekend to watch the Coyotes take on Missouri Valley rival NDSU.
On this week's Out and About, we asked students how they feel about playing a home football game in Sioux Falls.
I think it's a little weird, but it's kind of cool, I think.
So that's I didn't know that there was a stadium there.
I don't know how many fans are going to be willing to make the trip out there.
I'm in marching band, and we're going to that game, so I'll be there.
I don't plan on going because I have to work, but I would go if I could.
I don't mind that it's in Sioux Falls. I'm okay with that.
I don't see why we can't have that money coming into Vermilion.
I think it's a good idea.
It'll be a nice atmosphere to be outside for once.
Students will be forced to stay there longer. Students from both schools can go a little easier, kind of meet in the middle. So I think it's a good idea.
A new issue of the Volant Hit Newsstands today. Pick up your issue to read about the grant SGA received for the smoking ban and students' opinions on last night's debate. Those stories and more can be found on volantonline.com. You can also check out the Coyote News link on their page.
That's all for Coyote News. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Have a great night and a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.